I know where Manchester United went at the weekend. They went to Ipswich, and in Ruben Amorim's first game in charge, they left with a point. Ipswich won, Manchester United won. And Ipswich were great, were they not? Delap, you pointed it out before, Simon. The boy played brilliantly. Ipswich deserve an enormous amount of credit for the performance and the shift they put in front of their own fans. But what of United under Ruben Amorim? Paul Hurst in the Times this morning. Ruben Amorim warned that Manchester United will, quotes, suffer for a long period as his players get to grips with his new formation. Really? What can't they get to grips with? This was Amorim post-match.
What I understood today is that they are trying. They are really trying. They stay in the positions, they receive the information, and they try to use it in the game. That is very important. Even in the difficult moments, I felt that they were doing the things that we said for them to do. I know it's frustrating for the fans, but we are changing so much in this moment with a lot of games. We are going to suffer for a long period, and we will try to win games. This will take time, but I know we have to win games. We could win, we could lose if it was not Onana. So we have to understand that and think and be pragmatical that these guys had 2 days to train and to change so much.
I like it. So Martin Keown, if you're a Manchester United player, Ruben Amorim is coming for you. How much has he got to untangle?
Yeah, a lot. And I think it's there seems to be a little bit of a laziness in behaviour. I don't know if anyone was watching the team go out for the start of the second half, and they've obviously got someone now doing a warm-up session. Half the team weren't engaged. They weren't ready to go. And that second half performance wasn't quite there. They started the game very well, out of the blocks. Interesting from the manager, he was talking about messaging, about players perhaps overthinking things. So on a pitch, Jim, any young player you've got out there the weekend, if you want to impart knowledge to your son or daughter, for them to actually be able to talk on the pitch, they need to understand the game well. They need to have a knowledge of the game. It doesn't really bode well for the previous manager, Ten Hag. I know it was a slightly different system, but they don't really understand the 3-4-3 system well enough. So that was interesting what he was trying to get, the key messages he wants. He was saying that when they went in front in the game, it was about the ball. Just keep the ball. Control the game. They didn't do that.
Why don't the players realise that that's the thing to do?
Well, I think it's a bit worrying that the decision, Roy Keane talked about it, decision-making on the ball. Do you think top players have got that? But this group doesn't seem to have that quite at the moment. And we're talking about some really quite seasoned professionals.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why do they not get it? And Amorim on day one's got to tell them.
Well, I think it probably comes from the previous management. And I think what he wants to do now is, he talked about Fernandes, for instance. He's talking about Fernandes is too far away from the ball. He's too high up on the pitch. We need him on the ball for a creativity point of view. So it will be very interesting, but he's going to have to impart this knowledge very much quicker than he did. I know it's only been a week or so, but he's going to have to really accelerate that process now to give them the information they need to make the necessary changes. But you would have thought, there was a couple of times Dalot wasn't engaging very, very quickly, and you think, well, okay, you're in a 5 and you're a wing back, but you're essentially, as you run out to close down, you're a fullback. So you should be saying, look, fullback, let's do what a fullback does. Get tight, stop the cross. They seemed a little bit confused with what they've been asked to do. So the manager will take that personally, because he has to find a way, doesn't he, Jim, to get this message across. I'm pretty certain he will. I enjoyed the openness. We're probably going to get far less from him in the media now, and the players are going to get far more, but he's got a hell of a lot of work to do there.
I mean, I'm loving it, Simon. He warned that United will suffer for a long period as his players get to grips with the new formation.
Well, a week is a long time in politics, so a long period in football can be a very short period in the reality of the real world. And I do love the expression suffer, because applying yourself and having to overcome adversity is not the same as suffering. It's now an expression that's been sort of adopted into football orthodoxy, which means work hard, apply yourself, and overcome adversity. You'll have to suffer to do it. So it's a much overused expression. I was asking Martin this morning about Dalot because he was driving me mad yesterday. I watched him going forward, which I thought he was very good at. I watched him defensively when they dropped back into a 5, not going out and engaging wingers and allowing balls to be crossed in. I couldn't quite understand it. Look, Amorim will find his feet. And obviously there's been this observation made by people that know far more about it than I do, that United were easy to play through. So by pushing Fernandes into a different position, they're trying to countenance that by putting Eriksen and Casemiro in the same midfield to try and stop being so easy to play against. They still were easy to play against. Ipswich were very good in that game. Delap was very good in that game. And they've got some work to do. It's interesting to think that it requires such a massive shift of emphasis and challenge, and it's so massive, this departure from what they've had before, because this is a £1 billion squad of players that you would think were able to find the ability to overcome lesser opposition.
Yeah.
I'm not comparing this Man United side to Liverpool or, not at the moment, Man City, but other sides at the top of the league. We're talking about Manchester United coming up short against the lesser teams in the division, and that almost makes it unfathomable as to why this team isn't good enough to basically overcome lesser opposition. I think he'll be fine. I think he could see that he wasn't happy with the performance. I think he pretty much said it after the game. In terms, I don't think he was particularly impressed with what he saw, but I don't think it was particularly impressive. So I don't think he should be impressed by it. It'll take a period of time to get himself and to get his message across. And I think a few of them are going to liven themselves up or be getting their exit visas.
Well, exactly. I mean, they knew, and we might touch on this the other side of 11:30, Martin. We knew that Amorim was in place. We knew he was coming in. Yet last week, during the international break, Rashford, for one, pictured watching the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden on Monday night. Casemiro took his family on holiday to Disney World in Orlando. Lovely. But should they not have hung around? Should they not have been about the place in the build-up to Amorim taking the reins?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.